and we're about to get this thing going. So I'm just wondering, in the name of a resident council meeting, I'm wondering, can I get a motion to start this event? I got it first. Can I get a second? And I got a second. That's what I'm talking about. Thank you guys so much. Let's start this event. And also, typically at the Voices Forum, we usually start the day leading with a Pledge of Allegiance. And so today I'm presenting, I've got Professor Moore here from the State Veterans Home, who's going to be leading us with the Pledge of Allegiance. And so if you could join me for just a second. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thanks.
All right, you need some assistance here. You could. Oh, that's okay. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much. It's an honor to have you up here.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Oh. Good morning. This is exciting to have so many people here so early this morning. So thank you. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Mairead Painter, the State Long-Term Care Ombudsman, and welcome to our 27th Annual Voices Forum. I know, it's huge. It's a privilege to be here today, and I want to thank, in particular, my staff for helping our team make this happen. So we have Dan, Dan's always around somewhere. You have Dan, Cindy, Tasha, Sylvia, Brenda, they're all standing in the back, you guys can't see them, Stacy and Stacy, Keo and Shantae, and our administrative team members, Susan and Jennifer are here, and Deb is back answering the phone, so we make sure we don't miss any calls today. So thank you all, thank you for all of your work to make today happen. And Brenda, there was a lot of people who put a lot of effort into today making things, putting those bags together. So it's a privilege to be here with you today, united by our shared commitment to improving the lives of residents living in long-term care. As we gather, it's an honor to talk about the legacy of Carol Rosenwald, whose vision and determination laid the groundwork for this forum. Carol understood that it was so important for residents' voices to be heard outside the walls of their facilities. And today, we carry forward this mission as residents here have the opportunity to connect and share with policymakers, discuss their experiences, and outline areas for future opportunity. I want to extend a heartfelt thanks to our Executive Board of Presidents of Resident Council. So you'll see some of the residents have blue shirts on, and some we're getting them for them still, but we have our e-board members here today, as well as all of the residents who made the effort to get here today. I know that can be a challenge at times, and to the care team members who supported you in getting here as well and taking time out of their day. We're also joined today by legislators, commissioners, individuals from the Attorney General's office, policymakers, as well as leaders from various state agencies. I want to express our gratitude to the legislature, especially the Aging Committee, for their commitment, as well as the Speaker of the House, and their dedicated efforts over the past few years. Your work has been instrumental in expanding the protections that enhance quality of life for individuals in long-term care settings and those receiving long-term services and supports. So a big thank you to all of you. Last year, we also had a significant bill from the governor's office that was passed that prioritized older adults and those living in long-term care settings. The commitment to these individuals is critical as we work to ensure that Connecticut has high-quality nursing homes. Additionally, a special thank you goes out to our volunteers and our statewide family council for all of the work that they do in order to help voice what those opportunities for change are and work with local officials. Your unwavering commitment to support individuals in long-term care is invaluable. The forum provides a vital platform for presidents of resident council to come together and share their experiences and advocate for changes necessary to enhance the quality of life for residents in long-term care. Your voice matters, and together we can make a difference. Today's theme, Voices United, Empowering Choices for Strength and Advocacy, encapsulates our goal to empower each of you to express your needs and desires to effect change in our system. This includes your right to vote while in a nursing home. All of the residents, you all retain this right, and I hope over the next few weeks you take an opportunity to decide what you want to do and ensure that you have that opportunity to vote. I want to tell you a little bit about today. Today I'm so excited to have you all meet the reality poets who have come a long way to join us today and talk about their mission and what they've created and how their voices are being heard across our country. So that's awesome. You're going to see a little bit of their film called Fire Through Dry Grass. I encourage you all to be fully engaged throughout the day, take this opportunity to talk to each other, share your insights, and most importantly, make sure your voices are heard. We have a jam-packed day. In addition to the reality poets, we are going to have information shared about Money Follows the Person. So thank you, Christine and Anna, for being here. The Moving Forward Resident Council Pilot Program, we're going to hear more about that, and Alice Bonner has joined us here for that today, so that's going to be very exciting. So let's make this forum a powerful catalyst for progress, and thank you. I'm going to now invite my commissioner to come up, Amy Porter, who is an amazing advocate for older adults and our program. So thank you, Amy.
Good morning, everyone. How's everyone doing today? Gorgeous day out there. Nice to see all of you. So, Mairead, I just want to thank you for inviting me again today. This is one of my favorite events of the year. I love coming here. It's about the strength and advocacy that Mairead talked about. This is a powerful forum for folks to tell their stories, for policymakers and residents to connect and figure out where do we go next? How can we improve things? How can we make sure that we do have quality homes for folks to live? So I love this day because I love to hear the stories. I love to sort of get to the end of the day and feel like I have a sense of what you're looking for as we move into a very rapid fire legislative session where there's a lot of focus on these issues, which has been great. Mairead mentioned that last year there was a huge focus. We had the governor and the administration really focused on issues for older adults. We had the legislature, particularly the Aging Committee and also the Human Services Committee, really focused on these issues. And I think bringing your stories, I know a lot of you came to the Capitol, shared your stories, and doing that here really helps jumpstart us for what the session might look like. So I just want to say thank you to all of you for coming. I want to say thank you to Mairead and Dan and the team for making such an amazing day happen. And I am so eager to hear what happens. This is a great agenda. So thank you so much. And I'll be here for the day. So thank you.
Probably should stay up here at some points. All right, so with that, I want to invite Anna Carabin, or Christine Weston, both of you, okay, Christine Weston and Anna Carabin up to present. All right, to present regarding Money Follows the Person. This is something that you all asked to have more information about when we were here last year, so we wanted to ensure that we were able to engage them and have them here just to give you more of a background on this. So thanks, guys.
Hello, good morning, everyone. My name is Christine Weston, and I am the Director of Community Options at the Department of Social Services. So Community Options is the division at DSS that ensures that home and community-based services are open and available to individuals on Medicaid in Connecticut. We have a whole host of programs that are operated out of that unit. Some of our Medicaid waivers to keep individuals that would otherwise be living in a nursing home in the community with that level of care. But specifically here today to talk about Money Follows the Person, which is our state program that helps individuals that are already living in skilled nursing facilities that want to potentially move back into the community with services and supports. So I also brought Anna up here because she has a lot of direct experience being in with the individuals that are trying to transition home, some of the challenges, and what that looks like from the individual perspective. So we can talk about that a bit too. We have a deck, but I don't know if it's going to be shared, and it's kind of boring. So we're going to go through, we're going to just talk to you a little bit. Oh, this is much bigger and clearer for my vision, so that's great. Money Follows the Person is what they call a federal demonstration, right? So there are MFPs all over the country embedded in their Medicaid programs. For our individuals from New York, it's called Open Doors, if you've heard of that program. And it's really, the tenets of MFP is to provide an individual with choice of where to receive their long-term services and supports that are provided by the state. So if Medicaid would otherwise pay for your institutional care at a skilled nursing facility, it's up to us to make sure we can assess you and determine if those needs can be met in the community as well, under a host of waiver services and state plan Medicaid services, and see if we could build a holistic care plan for you. So, like I said, Money Follows the Person is a little different in every state as well. We all have unique programs and unique systems, but if you go to Hawaii, even if you go to Guam, there is an MFP. The federal government is very focused on making sure that individuals have choice and control over where they reside and how they receive their services. So MFP is a program, we can go to the next slide. Oh, do I have the clicker? Dan, you have the clicker? Oh, we have the clicker. Okay, so this is a technicality. There's just rules around how long what we call follow along with transition services post the transition. We can go to the next slide. You want to click? Okay, so as we said, it's for individuals who are at what we call institutional level of care or residing in a facility that would be otherwise considered an institutional setting. So that could be a hospital, a nursing facility, an intermediate care facility, and would be funded by Medicaid. So if Medicaid is a payer in that building, you're an eligible participant to meet with a care manager to be assessed to determine if you could otherwise receive your services in the community. So when we use the word qualified institution, that's what that means. You just need to be in a setting that is aligned with the vision of transitioning individuals out of nursing facilities. So also at the time of transition, you need to be active on Medicaid. So this is a Medicaid-based program. So Medicaid, Title 19, Husky, it has all of those names in Connecticut. So where it is that the Department of Social Services is your insurance carrier. So if we are paying your insurance benefit in the nursing home, it's the insurance benefit in the community. You have to be open to be developing a person-centered care of plan. You need to be open to the idea of services. There's a little bit of risk associated as well. It's a very different type of setting, being in a 24/7 skilled facility and going into the community. So we talk about identifying backups and having a safe plan of care. Another key part of eligibility is that you have to have been in that facility or institutionalized for at least 60 days. So it's not for someone who just popped in for a week and then you get access to the full benefits of all of the transition coordination and the housing supports, which we'll go into those details in the next few slides. But you have to have been there for 60 days and a high likelihood that you might potentially go long-term care. And you know, a lot of this is to help reduce barriers. So very easy to get into a nursing home. There could be an event or something that happened or a disease progression, and you went from the hospital and they helped you very easily get into a nursing home and it was all taken care of. Getting out is not as easy for someone who may want to, right? There is not that clear path. So that is why between the federal funds and the state funds, we've invested in building an entire team around the member to help them transition out of the nursing home if that's their choice. So there's a lot of things that go into that, and again, Anna will cover that shortly, but you have to kind of go through the checklist of being eligible, and then we can take those steps to help you transition into the community if that's your preference. Yeah, that's good. Going to the next. I'm sorry if I'm talking very fast. People just say slow down if you need me to. We go to the next one. So there's two types of ways to transition with MFP. So we have technical terms called non-demo and demo. So there are often times that people approach our assessors or want to transition home, but may not fit directly into the box that we've designed for Money Follows the Person. But we'll still help you transition out, and that's what we call non-demo. So you don't have the full range of services, but you get a good portion of our support to help you still transition. And one of those, a non-demo transition, which is a big thing, and I think maybe we'll have some more further discussions with this group about the RCHs and the residential care homes at a future date, but RCH is, a lot of people familiar with what an RCH is? A residential care home? Yeah, no. So, what's that? Yeah, all right. So an RCH is like what we would like to say in the continuum of care. It would be a kind of a step down from your own home and a step down from the nursing home, right? So they're apartments that have you can either share a room in a large facility or a small facility. They actually have a large range of how they are situated, but it's a shared housing situation where you have shared meals, you might have shared facilities, and there's kind of oversight and staffing support. So a little less of the level of care that's in a nursing home, but a little bit more support than in your own private home or apartment. So an RCH transition might really be appropriate for a lot of individuals that want to no longer live in the nursing home, but are maybe a little apprehensive to be in their own apartment because they like the socialization, they want that safety, that backup, that support. Technically, Money Follows the Person doesn't consider that a transition, but we still will help you transition into that space with some limited resources. So that's what we call non-demo. The much more exciting thing about MFP is a demo transition and what comes with what we call like the full suite of services and demo transitions. So you get assigned a transition coordinator who helps you. So say maybe in the transition you misplaced IDs and you don't know where your license is and you need help getting that. You know, a transition coordinator can help you gather those IDs. If you're having trouble applying for, you need to do an apartment application and you need help with that, a transition coordinator can help you with that. And MFP can help cover the cost of the application for the apartment because that's on the path for you to move into the community. Other demo supports is housing assistance. So a big part of MFP is that we provide housing supports and assistance. So you might be eligible to get some of your rent covered through the rental assistance program if you're found eligible, and we can find an apartment that meets your needs that will take the rental assistance package. If you want to move home with a family member, we have dollars to modify the home. If you want to move back to your own home, but you just can't get through that bathroom doorway anymore, we can work on expanding those doorways, building those showers out. So we look at the person, we look at the barriers to getting them from the nursing home to the community, and we start ticking through the barriers. So that's kind of like the wraparound services. You also at the same time have a care manager who's doing a functional assessment with you, helping you through the care planning process, identifying the correct services and supports for you, helping you set up interviews with agencies, or if you wanted to hire family members or friends to provide your care, they're following along in that parallel process. Takes a lot of time, takes a lot of coordination. One of the beautiful things about the Ombudsman program, a lot of them worked previously in this space, so they have like the subject matter expertise to help talk to you through it. If you have complaints about the process, they certainly know how to reach us. And they're all, remarkable individuals. Mairead and myself, Anna, we've all came through the MFP process. Sylvia in the back, Dan, we all were a part of the MFP team back in the day. So really, it is a great culture and a great environment to be a part of. And you can talk to almost anybody, and they'll be able to get us in touch with our team to answer your questions on MFP. So I want Anna to talk a little bit about the individual experience of what it means to be assessed and kind of the timeline for work in the nursing home, and then the obligation of the nursing home, because they play a big role in this, and sometimes they are their own barrier. So we have some mitigations for that, and Anna can talk a little bit about that individual experience.
First, I just wanted to let you know that MFP, because it's a federal demonstration, it's for 365 days total. And then after that 365 days, you're going to get an annual assessment. And as long as you remain eligible, then, and you're targeted for a waiver, which could be under DDS, ABI waiver, PCA waiver, DDS, ABI, whatever, Connecticut Home Care Program for elders, there is a reserve capacity for the waivers. So some of the waivers currently have wait lists, but we have a reserve capacity. So as long as you remain eligible, you're going to seamlessly transfer onto the waiver. So it just goes from federal dollars to state dollars. If for some reason you're hospitalized during that period of the 365, your counter stops and it will pick back up once you re-enter the community. Okay. And then we're just going to talk a little bit about some of the responsibilities of the qualified institution, of the hospital setting or the skilled nursing facility. Some of their responsibilities is to coordinate a safe discharge for you. We will collaborate with the building to make sure that is a safe discharge. There's obviously a transition coordinator involved that is going to assist with that, make sure you have the proper DME. A transition coordinator has a budget to, if you're transitioning to an apartment, to purchase furniture and some of those things that you may need. So toiletries, things for the bathroom, pots and pans, those sorts of things for your new apartment. We will then facilitate a discharge, coordinate your durable medical equipment, and schedule a PT evaluation to make sure the apartment is appropriate and accessible for you. We'll make sure you have medical appointments, any specialists scheduled prior to discharge, and make sure that you have any teaching for example, for your diabetic administration of the insulin, that all of that is completed prior to discharge.
Anything that might come up for them?
For them. I'm trying to think. Yeah, so if you have, there's different types. There's also what's called AFL. So if you have like a family member, you could go move in with a family member. They could be paid a stipend. You could move into your own apartment setting. You could move into an ALSA. You could, so from start to finish, typically it's supposed to be MFP gets in there, they're going to do an assessment, they're going to complete a plan of care, it's then going to go to the state, it'll get reviewed, approved, and then they're going to start working on your transition process. It's supposed to be approximately 6 months. Unfortunately, right now, the housing market is kind of up in the air, but that is the goal, is to try and get somebody moved out start to finish within 6 months. Okay.
So I believe I'm part of a Q&A later. So if you think of questions, you can certainly store them in your memory bank and save them for later. I'm also here the whole day to listen to all the stories and very happy to be here. I know there's a lot of information. I guess this is being made available to individuals if they want. Okay. And at the end, there's how to reach us. We have what we call a must answer line, and we have a pretty detailed website, so you guys can, if you want to take a picture of that or contact us, we're happy to answer any questions you might have about the transition process. But in the end, it's really just about choice, right? And an informed choice. And you can choose to have your setting of choice, and it might be a skilled nursing facility, or it may be an opportunity to move back into the community, and our team is just here to kind of walk you through that process. So thank you, Marie and Dan, and thanks.
I was kind of sitting there laughing while they were talking, because I think we have 5 people that we may have long-term borrowed from MFP onto our team. So thanks for that, guys. So yes, they are able to assist. And if you have questions, we would welcome you to ask us, and we can get you in touch with them. So now's a fun part of the day, one of the fun parts. We're going to do a raffle. I'm told I have questions up here. So my team, if you want to come grab some microphones. All right. So I know last year people were very excited about the raffle, and so we're just going to have you maybe call out a question, and one of the ROs will bring, we have some gifts in the back. First question. Residents can only see nursing home contracted physicians. True or false? All right. Well, that was quick. All right, so deliver something, guys. During normal business hours, nursing homes have the right to restrict visitation to specific hours. False. Oh, I heard a good false quick over there. All right. I know, shoot your hands up. Maybe we'll go by who has their hand up fastest. Let's see some. All right. Room searches can be done without a resident being present or consent. Well, ooh, false over here fast. Right back there, in the way back. That was really fast. Residents have the right to private and unrestricted communication with anyone of their choosing. All right, I have the gentleman in black right over there. He got his hand up real fast. Okay. Tell me when I'm supposed to stop, guys. Residents can only review their medical records when there's a change of condition. False. Shantae, right in front of you. The facility administrator must be invited to attend resident council. Oh, John was quick on that one. Okay, John, you really shot your hand up there. All right. If an individual's stay at the nursing home is paid by Medicaid, if an individual's stay at the nursing home is paid by Medicaid, they have to pay for copies of their medical record. False. There's a woman over here in a brown. Okay. 30-day notices. If someone receives a notice of involuntary transfer or discharge, the nursing homes have to identify details about the location they're transferring the resident to. True. There's a woman in a American flag shirt right there. She had her from Avon Healthcare, right? Ooh, okay. See, my mind works, my memory works sometimes. Residents can participate in community activities both inside and outside of the nursing home. True. Nice little, right here, right up in the front. All right, guys, give me a number. How many more of these I'm doing? Somebody, oh, that's, okay, and I just got so that's our raffle, but I thank everybody for participating, and that you guys knew the answers to these questions, so that means you're really well informed about your rights. So with that, I am going to.
Hello, Marie.
Brenda?
Can we identify hands up so we could give you the gifts?
Oh, raise your hand if I called your name out. Okay. I was going too fast for you guys, sorry. All right. So the next thing I'm really excited to talk to you about, and I don't know where Alice went, I lost sight of her. So we're part of a pilot program here in Connecticut that originally started about 2.5 years ago out of something called the NASM report, which identified some areas of challenge in long-term care communities and really looked to enhance the services that were provided in these communities, and how resident councils were engaged was one of the topics and areas of focus that came up. So we did I was part of it nationally, and we did a pilot in New Jersey for a short period of time. And then the John A. Hartford Foundation decided to further expand the project and do another 3 years. And through that next 3 years, we identified Connecticut as a state to strengthen resident councils. So I did put out a call to the nursing homes, to all the nursing homes, to say, who would like to participate? We want resident councils that want to participate in this pilot program. We're going to have 25 homes in our state that are part of the specific pilot. And then we're going to open it up for other nursing homes to be part of the broader project. And what this does is it works with individuals. We have the guides in your bags. Everyone has received one of the resident council guides. And this guide helps to walk you through ways that you can run your resident council. It's not a prescription. It talks about ways that you can get out agendas, ways that you can get out information related to the minutes, engaging with administration, the expectations of how you want to see them work with you. And so we know that this can be challenging at times because there's a lot of turnover and how to keep those notes. So the guide really walks you through that. And then we're also going to have a coach in each of the buildings that is going to work with each of the 25. So I'm going to be specific there. Each of the 25 buildings will have a coach to work with the resident councils and the administration to help them with the guide and how to communicate back and forth and have that accountability. We really want to see that the resident council is seen like its own department, right, in the nursing home, that you guys are providing information and feedback on how the home is functioning, what's going well, and where there's opportunities for change. So if you're interested in this and you're interested in having your resident council participate either with one of the 25 where we're working that number, getting it together, or in a more broad way. Alice wasn't here when I first introduced you, but if you want to stand up. Alice Bonner, who's the chair of the Moving Forward Coalition and here with us today. Thank you for driving all the way down from Boston this morning. This is something that we want to see here in Connecticut. I would love to see this working in every nursing home. The regional ombudsman will have information on it and can support you if you're not one of the 25. I don't know that they can attend every resident council meeting in the state on a regular basis, but we try to get to most of them. So please reach out if it's something you want more information on, if you want some support in. And I'd like us to be sort of the catalyst nationally for how a state can do this well, and really empower residents and their voice in our long-term care communities. Oh, we will be. Okay. So, thank you. Thank you. Jeanette has corrected me. We will be the catalyst for. All right. Well, thank you. And thank you. I think it's an amazing project, and I'm so happy we're able to do it here and have that level of focus on you all and your councils. With that, I would like to call up Irma Rappaport to talk about the Essential Caregivers Act. So, Irma, come on up. Irma has been a steadfast powerhouse nationally, not only for our state, but nationally, on her work related to the Essential Caregivers Bill. And when she doesn't get an answer right away, trust me, she will work to get it. Do I have a question down there? All right. Does she have a question for me?
Hold on, I got a mic here for you.
Who do we participate with, and if our institution would like to be part of those 25 projects?
Yes, what you do is you talk to your regional ombudsman, or you let somebody in blue. You'll notice a lot of us have blue on. Let somebody in blue know that you want to participate and the name of your building, and we will work to coordinate with you. And before I have Irma come up, I do think we announced in the back of the house, we have our wonderful team members from the Department of Public Health. If anyone has any questions or concerns, medical concerns, they are all right there, and they're always great to support us. So thank you, guys. And all the ROs, regional ombudsman, have blue on. So if you find somebody in blue, you can ask any of your questions. All right, with that, I'd like to introduce Irma.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Irma Rappaport of Orange, Connecticut. Yay, Orange. Happy Resident Rights Month, everyone. I'm pleased to be here with my Connecticut advocates, fellow advocates, Liz Stern and Amy Bedini. I would not be up here without them, I can tell you. And Rick Kaiser as well, who's the head of the Family Council, too. It's been an honor working with them and with our outstanding Connecticut long-term care ombudsman, Mairead Painter, over the past few years. We love her so much. Please raise your hand if you currently live in a long-term care community. So, yeah, about half, I think. And please raise your hand again if you have a special someone, a family member or a friend who regularly comes to see you to help advocate for your needs, to be your companion, or help with your care. Raise your hands high for that. Okay. So the Essential Caregivers, thank you. The Essential Caregivers Act is for you and for all of us. Any of us could find ourselves needing extra care someday, including needing short-term rehab. The Federal Essential Caregivers Act must be passed so that no one living in a long-term care facility will be denied in-person access to a loved one again. Just this week, we got excellent news. The Alzheimer's Association has endorsed the Federal Essential Caregivers Act. We in Connecticut are very proud of all we've accomplished in nursing home reform. Public Act 2171, the Connecticut Essential Caregivers Act, the Support Persons Act actually, was passed before the federal bill, the Essential Caregivers Act, was introduced at the end of June 2021 by Representatives Claudia Tenney of New York, John Larson in Connecticut, and the federal bill was reintroduced this year with a Senate companion bill, co-led by our own Senator Richard Blumenthal and by John Cornyn of Texas. And all 5 Connecticut representatives, John Larson, Joe Courtney, Rosa DeLauro, Jim Himes, and Johanna Hayes, and both Connecticut senators, Richard Blumenthal and Christopher Murphy, support the bill. We're the only state in the nation that has all of our legislators on board with this common sense and compassionate bill that allows at least one resident-designated family member or friend in-person access to their loved one during a declared emergency with the simple requirement that they follow the same written safety protocols as staff. Currently, there's 87 House sponsors and co-sponsors and 12 Senate sponsors and co-sponsors. Thank you. If you've never heard of the Connecticut Essential Support Persons Act or the Federal Essential Caregivers Act, please read the supplementary materials about the bills and the links given in the booklet handed out today. Both the state law and the federal bill acknowledge that informal caregivers are essential to the care and companionship of an individual living in long-term care. There's many pieces of caregiver legislation in Congress, but only the handful of states, including Connecticut, that have essential support person laws and the Federal Essential Caregivers Act acknowledge this simple fact: caregiving does not stop at the nursing home door. We need a federal essential caregivers law because federal facilities take federal dollars, Medicare and Medicaid, and need to be enforced by a federal bill. We have loved ones who live in other states, and we need this bill for them too. Facilities are currently imposing visiting hours, despite federal guidelines allowing visitation at all times. Everyone living in a long-term care community in Connecticut should designate a family member or a friend to be their essential support person and a secondary essential support person to be their backup in case, for example, the primary essential support person is on vacation. We keep hearing it's not if, but when the next declared emergency happens. Please contact your ombudsman or the social worker at the facility where you live and make sure you have a primary essential support person and secondary essential support person written into your care plan so that it is in place and ready whenever visitation is restricted during a declared emergency. I have an email list of hundreds of constituents across all the 50 states who support this bill, because their loved ones in facilities experience the devastating consequences of being isolated during the COVID pandemic. They've joined me at Zoom meetings to speak to the health staffer of a federal representative or senator, who then asks their boss to co-sponsor. One person in each of the 50 states told their caregiver story in a great 30-minute video called 50 States, 50 Stories. And you can all watch it on the website caregiversforcompromise.com, which is also mentioned in the booklet. We need more individuals living in long-term care communities to support the Federal Essential Caregivers Act. And Liz, Amy, and I will be circulating a petition in the room today to add you to our list of supporters for the Federal Essential Caregivers Act. We'll ask for your name, your town or city, your email address, and whether you live in a long-term care community, which you don't have to name. You can also let us know if you'd like to share your story about what it was like being isolated in a facility during the pandemic. Adding your voice to this bill is so important. Thank you again for this opportunity to speak on behalf of your family members, friends, and neighbors in long-term care. I urge you to exercise your rights as U.S. citizens by voting in this next election. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Irma. I see a hand up over there.
Correct information. What happens if you do not have the correct information on the sheet when you talk to Money Follows the Person? Every single answer on my sheet was incorrect. I've tried to get a hold of you, but through circumstances I was not able to do that. I have had no one visit me in over a year. Even though my sister is a CNA, that was not listed, and I guess I fell through the cracks.
Well,
and
we're
I'm
gonna-
a little disappointed.
I'm going to have someone talk to you directly today, and we will get that resolved for you, okay? All right, and with that, it is my extreme pleasure to invite up the individuals from Fire Through Dry Grass who produced it. This is the Reality Poets, and I'd love to invite you up to the stage. Are you guys comfortable coming up? Would you rather stay? It's up to you. We want to be down here, or would you rather come up? Yep. Do you need any assistance? So these individuals came all the way from New York to be with us here this morning. So thank you for getting up early and making the trip. And I'm going to have Dan take over at this point because Dan has put so much effort into coordinating this, and I want to make sure everybody has space. Coordinating this and making sure that we could have this happen today. And Susan, who's on our team as well, went through a lot of work to ensure that you could all get here. And so thank you. Dan, I'm going to pass it off to you.
Sounds good.
Well,
And
actually,
so,
hang on, Dan, can you
and
bring me-
I'm coming up, but I'm going to start by cueing this video. So
Okay, bring me a mic, though. I want to have them each have an opportunity.
I'm gonna come up there as soon as I cue this video. Okay. All right. So again, just a quick primer for everybody. Like, what is the Fire Through Dry Grass film? The Fire Through Dry Grass film is a documentary film that uncovers the devastating impact of COVID-19 pandemic on residents of a New York City nursing home. The film is notably brought to life by the Reality Poets, a group of young black and brown disabled artists. These artists use their poetry and art to document their experiences during the lockdown, highlighting the dangers they faced and their feelings of imprisonment. The film sheds light on the neglect they endured and the refusal to be marginalized or erased. The Reality Poets, many of whom are survivors of gun violence, represent a unique and powerful voice, providing an intimate look at the a community look at the often overlooked during the pandemic. Fire Through Dry Grass is a profound commentary on resilience, visibility, and advocacy for marginalized communities, particularly those with disabilities. It underscores the necessity of acknowledging and addressing the systemic neglect and marginalization faced by disabled individuals, particularly in crisis situations like the COVID-19 pandemic. The film, through the voices of the reality poets, highlights the importance of self-expression, community solidarity, and the power of art as a tool for advocacy and change. It serves as a call to action for greater inclusivity, respect, and care for all members of society, especially those who are often overlooked and forgotten. And so before we do the quick Q&A session, I'm going to play a quick video of, from the filmmakers of The Fire Through Dry Grass. And so just bear with me.
People are moving on from the pandemic, but they haven't heard this story.
How many hands do you have?
And I think it's really important that as we're writing the history of the COVID pandemic, that this is one of the stories that's recorded.
Community is an important part of Fire to Dry Grass because it's our story, and we were the ones that wanted to put the story out there for the whole country to see.
Really, it's about his point of view, but we also have my point of view coming into the film. And one of the things that we really lean into this film is the inside-outside. Jay and the other reality poets, you always see them behind a window, whether it's a Zoom window or behind the windows of the building, and I'm always filming from the outside. We really tried to enhance that effect of what it sounded like and what it looked like from your point of view inside the nursing home, to what it looked like for everyone else the world was already opening up for the rest of us outside.
What I want for people to walk out with is the fact that they can fight for themselves, that don't let somebody just tell you how they want you to do or what they want you to act like or what they want you to live like. Fight for your rights. Fight for what you believe in.
It's not just about this nursing home. It's not just about Kohler. It's about nursing homes everywhere, and it's about people everywhere who were forgotten during the pandemic and whose stories we didn't really see on the news.
And the next thing I wanted to show you guys, of course, if we had all the time in the world, I would have loved to play the full video for you guys, a full screening. But unfortunately, we don't have the full time, so I at least to prime you guys for the conversation, I wanted to play the trailer because I think it gives a good snapshot about what the individuals from the Fire Through Dry Grass were experiencing as we start this dialogue together today.
Say hello to the camera, Pete. What's up, y'all? I never thought I would end up living here. But I also didn't think of being a wheelchair or that I'd be a poet. Every day we're rolling. And I definitely didn't think I'd be a filmmaker.
And there has been news breaking by the hour about
the novel coronavirus outbreak spreading across the world. Nursing homes scrambling to increase safety protocol.
We're going to need medical capacity on a scale we've never seen in the history of New York City before. The Kohler facility on Roosevelt Island, it is being immediately brought back online.
I've been filming everything inside. All of us been filming.
I'm pissed off that we're like the forgotten ones.
I observed yesterday ambulance after ambulance after ambulance bringing people in and out. Corona. You had me confused and confined.
They put a patient in my room and he's telling me that he got the virus and I got underlying conditions like these people don't care.
If this was an all-white nursing home, this would never happen.
How long do you think it'll take before everybody in the damn place is infected? But to me, that's like throwing me in a goddamn lion's den and closing the gate.
How do you sleep at night knowing that you're responsible for so many people dying here?
You and I should have a conversation, all right?
Welcome to Colin Max Prison, run by people who lack any vision.
I don't think our mental health is looked after. My God.
A nursing home is ground zero, but it just takes one person with a virus, and then it is fire through dry grass.
Will I survive through these hard times, or will I become a victim of this silent killer?
They say nobody knows, but somebody always knows something.
Now, if this is being read after my departure, just know I fought.
Nursing home! Lives matter!
For my soul, I didn't let the devil capture.
So, certainly a very, very powerful experience. And I'm so grateful, we are so grateful that you guys could join us here today to kind of talk about these experiences that you guys had. And so I guess I wanted to keep it informal, you know, just to have a dialogue with you guys. Tell me a little bit about, if you guys could, what the experience was in making the film and some of the biggest institutional challenges that you guys think face individuals in nursing homes, you know, especially during the pandemic, but generally. Anyone want to?
One of the biggest challenges was making sure our I's and T's was crossed. When it came to recording inside the facility, worried about retaliation. Definitely retaliation, you know, because retaliation can come in so many different ways. And if you're not paying attention, you won't even see them coming. Yeah.
No, thank you so much. Anyone else? Any thoughts on what you think some of the significant challenges were?
Isolation. We had like I got out, but these guys were in there for over a year with isolation, and isolation is depressing, and then no one should have to go through that ever again.
Absolutely. It was a terribly challenging time for everyone. Is there anything to add about that? Or?
I think one of the biggest challenges we faced also was the misinformation or no information that were being given to us during that time. We were practically blind to what was going on in the nursing home itself because our administration never came to give us any kind of information. As a matter of fact, they were non-existent. They never even came to the units, not once during that pandemic. They never gave us any information about the state of the nursing home itself.
Yeah, and you guys, anything to add, or you got it? And I think that you talked about that, you touched on, I think, which is one of the major issues, is that a lot of times, especially that we observed in the pandemic, it was a lot of top-down decision-making. Residents were isolated and didn't have the opportunity to really share their voice, and didn't have the opportunity to kind of to be that front and center, you know, voice to lead decision makers, to lead policy makers. And so, why do you guys think that nursing home residents need to be that lead in decision making regarding care and living decisions? What do you guys think about that?
Because I would say most of the people above, they really can't understand nor they can relate with what the experiences we are all in this room have similar and can relate to. And that's one thing that's a major problem as far as a communication disconnect. We in this room is saying, like, we need this, we need that for better care, for better activities and so on and so forth. But, oh no, you don't need this, you need that. We stick with that, we do with that. And like, we got to make things right. And this is why we need these, these coalitions in other nursing homes, and so we can have these conversations, because it's about what we need, and for us, for the better care, most of all.
We also have to be the voice for the ones that don't have a voice.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of residents often have challenges. They think to themselves, how do I raise my voice? What does it mean to raise my voice? And don't think about, they think about the legislature, they think about testifying, but I think it also can be done in many other ways. And I think you guys did a wonderful job of using your voice in a unique way through your art. And so if you guys could, you want to talk a little about what it means to use advocacy through art, and what that means to you and how you were able to do it?
I think that art, for us, art is a very powerful tool in advocacy, because I don't think there's anything more powerful than hearing a story from someone who's lived it. And that's what art is. When you write a poem or you write a song, you are putting your soul out there. It's something that's real, something that you experience. You know, it's not something that somebody wrote for you. It's not a script. It's just something that's real. And I think that's why art is so powerful in advocacy, because you bear your soul, you tell your heart, you tell the real deal, you tell what's happening, you know, from the heart.
It also allows you to express yourself without somebody feeling like, oh man, this person is a little bit too much for me or a little bit too hostile. Like, I'm showing you how hostile it is. I got my portrait here showing you how the nurse home is in distress. We starving, we need much care. The nurses is we bet low staff. I'm showing you this art and this whole vision. But it's like, it's not getting to you, you're not feeling it. So this is our way for you to feel it, instead of me yelling at you, coming to your house, showing up in front of your lawns, because this is where you're going to see it. Eventually it's going to get like this. It's going to be us people in our walkers and wheelchairs and all that right in front of people's places, and they ain't going to want that. They ain't going. How they going to move you? How they going to move us? You know, so this is why they got to get it together, because we're going to be out there like able-bodied people in them lobbies and at these places. Because we need to make this better change. We in 2024. Like we should be up to speed. We up to speed with technology, but why we left care behind? Like, I'm talking about like care in the 70s, 60s. You know what I mean? With care, the understanding, like, yo, we love each other. We looking out for one another. That type of care, like, it's just dwindling. Like, we don't want that. And a lot of us, and not only that, we not just more afraid, but it's just like, we not trying to let it happen. It's like the last or the little bit of life or what you got fighting and pumping in you, you ain't gonna let nobody take that from you. Is that right, y'all? You know, so that's, you know, this is why we gotta express ourselves in an artistic form at all times, because nobody don't gotta feel threatened, but you gonna feel what we feel and understand it.
Yeah, I think you touched on it, raising the consciousness.
Yeah, and I can also say by, using our advocacy and art, I see it as a way, you won't see me coming until it's out there, or until, I'm sharing my art, or, but you're going to get the message at the end of the day.
And a large part of the film that you guys touched on are, systemic care issues that were experienced, but also touching on the systemic racial disparities that are, that were active and in play during COVID, especially those affecting Black and brown individuals. And I'm wondering, based on the Nursing Home Lives Matter movement that you guys started, I know you guys were instrumental in creating a Bill of Rights for that. And so if you guys could talk a little bit about how you guys think that we could address some of the systemic challenges in the nursing homes to make sure that staff are doing what's right by all individuals.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said about that. I think training, better training for the staff is one of the most paramount thing that you could do. Not only for the racism, but there are many areas that I see staff is lacking training in nursing homes, and that's for people who are mute or people who are blind. I see them every day in my unit. They don't know how to communicate with these people. They don't know how to commute. They don't know the sign language. They don't know how to commute with a person who's mute. They don't know how to communicate with a person who's blind. And some of these things, I think these are issues that needs to be addressed. So I don't know if it happens in all nursing homes, but I know it happens in my nursing home. I see it every day.
We also got to get better benefits and better pay for these ladies. These ladies are burnt out. They need time for themselves too. They need to have space. So we need more caregivers. Better benefits, please. Better pay.
Yeah, and just a good morning to go a long way, you know.
Amen. Amen. And so, yeah, and so I think addressing the racial discrimination, the ableism that's happening, I think that you're reaching to, it's a system issue, and it has to start with education, empowerment for both the residents and the staff to make sure that we have a culture that's inclusive for all residents. And in this discussion, I think you guys, what was unique and very empowering that you guys did was, in the film, was creating that separation, helping individuals to really understand that difference between what it felt like being isolated within the confines of the home while seeing the rest of the world open up. And I think you guys did a great job by engaging the greater community to come together and be that voice with you. We're coming to your door. They might be locking us in, but we got our people, and our people are coming. And so if you guys could talk to me a little bit more about how you guys were able to get that broader community support during the making of this film, and how you were able to enact the culture change in your local community and within your state.
Yeah, I have to say, big shout out to the to the Roosevelt Island community, because without them, let me tell you, I think it would have been a heck of a lot worse than it was for us. You know, I have often seen on the news, or maybe read an article in the newspaper or something, back then when newspapers were in, about communities that came together during a crisis, right? And I have lived in many communities in New York, but I have never experienced that togetherness, that love, like I did during COVID in the Roosevelt Island community. They came out for us. They showed up like we were their own, like we were family. We were actually their family. They showed up in every way. In every way, you all saw in the film how they showed up for the rally that we had. You know, that rally was about, they wanted to put more COVID patients into quarter, but we didn't want, because of all the patients that were in there with underlying conditions, you know, and a lot of people were dying in there at that time. So, yeah, I have to say, community was key for us during that lockdown.
I'll say definitely I agree. Community is key overall. Like, this is from community to family. Like, overall, everybody just start getting tired. Your family members coming, wondering what's going on. Then another family member, then another family. All these family members start getting together. It's like that. The way how our community and family is the way other people got together and their family members got together. It's like we had enough. Enough is enough. I haven't seen my family member in so long. This one has been neglected. He's been sitting in his diaper for a week in his bed. Like, it's so many a number of things that you just get tired of, and people come together after you get tired of it, and it's just that breaking point. It's that boiling point, and it's just like, yo, the pot is ready to spill over. So it's like, yo, what do you do? Besides the community, we also reached out to our local politicians, you know, senators in their office and everything as well, too. That's another thing we also did, because we're not alone in this, you know, in this fight together. And they sure held enough and held their arm out and helped us as well. So that's a grateful thing. So that not only from between that, family, love from the community, like it was just a big appreciation, like overall.
Yeah, also from the beginning, you know, like when we started speaking out, you know, like it's like, who gonna believe us? And then once you see community coming together, holding rallies out in the front, not only that, like El said, we reached out to our Manhattan Borough presidents, politicians. They created a forum called the Tacoma Task Force, where they hold the administration responsible for the BS that and rules that they supposed to be following but don't follow. You know, hold them really accountable, and that was like a great thing coming up with that Kohler Task Force, because now we have somebody that's higher than the administration, you know, that's on our side. So yeah, that became a big help with the community.
It would be nice to have every nursing home have a COLA task force, so that they can have advocates, for them. And then we can need to hold these candidates accountable for us. They need to start talking about the disabled and the elderly, not just about their policies.
As far as I would list something about the task force, like Sharon said, every nursing home should have a task force. The reason for that is because there's the resident council, right? But then there's a task force, right, where administration answers to the task force. The administration has to come to these meetings, and they're held accountable for what they're supposed to do, or what they didn't do. They're held accountable in that meeting. It would be great if every nursing home had a task force like that, where they have their elected officials sitting in on those meetings. Not them personally, but they have representatives from their offices sitting on those meetings.
And that's one of the most moving things that I think you guys were able to display in this film, is that all the way from that very beginning moment where you know that injustice is happening and you feel it in your heart and you say to yourself, who's going to believe just me? And then you come together because you realize that the other residents within the facility, we are a community. Sometimes we are a family, and that we're all sharing these concerns and raising them together, engaging with the community, growing the coalition, and ultimately going to the legislature and enacting change. And so if you could, for any resident out there right now who still feels like they're being disserviced or not getting the care and services that they deserve, that they're entitled to under law, what would you tell them to do? How can they get involved? How can they start a process like this?
Definitely speak up. You know you're right, you're right. There's no wrong in that. Speak up. Don't never be afraid of retaliation, because what's the worst that can happen? That's how I see it. You might get looked on differently, or so what? This is something that you deserve. This is something that they're supposed to have been doing. This is something that you shouldn't have to speak up for. Speak up and speak all the way up.
I would just say, you just gotta recognize care. That's just the overall most importance of this whole conversation. Like, at the end of the day, everyone has become an elder. At the end of the day, you could be able, you could be healthy, the strongest man alive. You could trip over this, and boom, it could be you disabled now. Like, let's just keep it real. So we gotta speak and bring more importance to these conversations when it comes to elderly and disability rights, and just overall, like, the conversation when it comes to living facilities and in-home facilities. Like, forget what's going on TV. Like, we need to be, as far as the conversation, last time it's seen, we need to be spoken about. Like we just said, like, we need to be, it's 2024. I shouldn't be going at the end of the block and I can't get down the sidewalk. Like, this is why we still living. I understand, like, certain places, but it's just the point of when it comes to the level of care and the amount of technology we have for advanced this, healing that, like, we shouldn't be living and being in these conditions or going through the scenarios that we're going through, and most of all, as far as put up a fight, like, we fighting every day now, so it's like, what else we got to lose? Don't be afraid of retaliation, as V and everybody else said, because they already feel like they've been retaliating on us now. So it's like, what's the point, But at the end of the day, just really just focus on and look at your neighbor. We just alike. We just in the same situation. You might be a chair, you might have a scooter, you might have your walker. Like, let's just be real. Like, we fighting the better for all of us. Like, at the end of the day in the room, and just better, for the nurses too, like, as well. Like, shout out to them too. Like, I know, y'all been under a lot as well too, but You know, we there with y'all just like how y'all been there with us. Thank you.
I just want to say, I know in just about every nursing home, there's one of us in there. There's always that one person who speaks up, who advocates or try to advocate for the rest of the residents. I just want to urge all the nursing home residents to get behind that person, amplify your voices, because here's the thing. When only one person is talking, one person in that room is talking, they will always brush him off as a troublemaker. You know, but when more than one people are saying the same thing, that's when it becomes a change maker. So get behind your advocate. Get behind the person who's speaking up for you.
And I'm thankful for the turnout today because I think we have a lot of those people in this room right now who might have been called a troublemaker once or twice. And so thank you guys for turning up and turning out to advocate for yourselves, to advocate for those voiceless individuals that can't speak, that aren't here today on behalf of your facilities, and as all facilities, as all nursing facility residents here in Connecticut. So thank you guys for coming out as well. Thank you guys so much for coming out. And it was, and again, I can't thank you guys enough because you guys have been so instrumental in the national work that you've done, the consciousness you've raised, and the challenges. I just want to let everyone know, if you haven't already seen the film in full, on the slides connected, and you can always reach out to us. Our contact information's in the attendee packets. We're happy to connect you. The POV Network has offered all resident councils to access the film for free, and so we're happy to help you guys get connected so that you guys can watch your councils, the entire film in its entirety at no cost. And so, again, thank you guys so much.
Yeah, I just want to let you all know that the film is also streaming on Apple. It's streaming on Amazon Prime and Google Play.
I love it. And I don't want to let you guys go just yet. I'm going to turn the microphone over to Marie, who has something she'd like to talk about.
Well, two things actually. I thought of something as we were talking, and we do have a couple of people here today that, I was watching that, made me think about how we got information out to all of you. So I didn't just have information to put on Facebook Live and to make sure that you all had information, right? We didn't have a statewide family council before because we didn't use the internet. We didn't get information out, but we had to think differently during that time on how to ensure that residents and family members and involved people had access to up-to-date information. And I want to thank our Department of Public Health who are here, and a lot of the people that were on calls with us every day, sometimes multiple times a day, giving us updated information so that we could get it out to you. And they even came on Facebook Live and answered questions. So a big thank you to you. My commissioner, Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services is here, the AG's office. Without that support and the acknowledgement that you all needed that information, that it was absolutely essential. I think in some cases you guys were getting information faster than the staff and the administration in the buildings. So, and that's key, right? If you're the individuals receiving care, it's impacting you, you're the ones that should have access to that information and be able to voice what you need to voice for decision making. So thank you for doing that. And I want to, actually, if you want to do that part, our executive board of presidents of resident council, every year we honor different groups for their work, and we have something called the Brian Capshaw Award, and Brian was a rock star. He really enjoyed rock and roll music and traveled nationally, and in his wheelchair I remember trying to chase him in DC at times because he would go so fast. And so our e-board would like to honor you all with our annual Brian Capshaw Award, and we have awards for each of you to take back and to hang in your home, just to thank you for all the work you've done and how you've empowered residents across the country. So thank you so much. So we'll make sure that you guys each get those while you're here today. All right, so thank you so much. And again, I encourage everyone to take an opportunity to watch the full movie. All right, we're gonna help you guys. I don't know, I wanna just careful because your chair's close there. 2 seconds. Yeah, let's give him a big round of applause. Thank you. Take your time. And Peter's on our Moving Forward group too, our resident council Moving Forward group. So thank you, Peter, does lots of work with us. Thank you so much. Okay. And as they're coming down, Irma, I would like to ask you to come up for a moment. And Dan, if you could go over to Jeanette. So we talked about earlier all the work that Irma has been doing at a national level. Irma is now known, I think, in every congressman's office, every senator's office, as the woman who keeps calling to get her point across and be heard. And that's something we talk about all the time. How do you get your voice across? How do you ensure that you're heard? She's connected with family members and residents across the country. The group together has produced a book for telling those stories and ensuring that policymakers across the country know exactly what residents and family members went through that period of time. So Jeanette, I'm going to hand it over to you for a second.
Irma, the executive board, we discussed who we were going to recommend for our state award this year, and your name came to the top of the list. And try not to get emotional. The reason being is the countless hours that you have put out for residents living in our state, but also representing those that live outside of our state. But predominantly, we thank you from Connecticut for all your hard work, and we, in support of what you're trying to do for us, I know it was through your own personal loss that got you started with this, and so we can relate to some of that with the loss that we felt during COVID, especially, but we cannot thank you enough and give you enough kudos or snaps for all that you've done for us. So this award is presenting in honor of you for that.
And they've written a letter of support for you. Our e-board wrote a letter of support for the work that you're doing.
In support of that, the e-board sent out a letter to all of our senators and chairpersons in representing us, but for you, so that the Essential Caregiver Act will go forward.
All right, thank you. That's the fun part of the day. All right. And she wore Ombudsman blue. So also if people have the opportunity, yay, to come and advocate with us at times, right? If you come to the Capitol, we love if you follow our legislative page on our website, and you want to come and testify, you're interested in the bill, please reach out to us, and we will help you with that. But we also have people wearing blue, and we try to ensure that our e-board members have that blue as well. At this time, I would like to call up Yukon Center for Aging. Oh, there they are. So we're really excited about the work and partnership that we have with Yukon in our state. They do a tremendous amount of work through their Center on Aging to support individuals in long-term care. Let me see if we're... Is Christine and Ellis here yet? All right, we are going to shift. They may not have been able to arrive yet. So we are going to shift, and we'll come back to Yukon. That means Dan, which is a good segue, seeing as we were just talking about legislation. Dan's going to go over a lot of what we were able to accomplish last year, what we're hoping to accomplish in the coming year. And come on up, Dan.
Sounds good. All right, I'm back in. All right. Don't need the wireless. All right. Good morning, everyone. For those who haven't seen me yet, I'm Dan with the Long-Term Care Ombudsman Program, and I am delighted to present a brief overview of the Connecticut 2024 legislative session and some of the groundbreaking work that we've continued to do over the last several years legislatively. First, I'd like to extend my congratulations to the Executive Board, the resident council leaders here today, all attendees, for your dedicated advocacy in protecting resident rights and working to advocate on behalf of individuals living in long-term care facilities throughout the state. So, a brief legislative overview of the 2024 session. This session ran from February 7th to May 8th, marked a pivotal period for advancing significant policy change. On February 29th and March 5th, the Long-Term Care Ombudsman Program, the Executive Board of the statewide Coalition of Presidents of Resident Council, the Statewide Family Council, and other various advocacy groups convened at the Legislative Office Building to participate in public hearings on several critical nursing home reform bills, including comprehensive measures such as House Bill 5001 and House Bill 5046. And the objective was to highlight the challenges faced by long-term care residents in Connecticut and to advocate for greater transparency, accountability, and quality of care. And now, while not all proposed bills were passed, the session did result in the enactment of several key reforms aimed at improving the quality, choice, and transparency in care. These legislative successes exemplify the strong bipartisan collaboration across multiple committees. The Long-Term Care Ombudsman Program and the E-Board of the Statewide Coalition of Presidents of Resident Councils would like to express our sincerest recognition and appreciation for both the Speaker of the House, the Aging and Human Services Committees. Their efforts this session have further demonstrated their unwavering commitment to meeting the needs of older adults and those in long-term care across the state. The implementation of these measures is anticipated not only to generate cost savings, but also significantly enhance the quality of life for seniors, promoting a more dignified and independent lifestyle within their chosen communities. Notably, the session saw the implementation of enhanced privacy measures, including limiting room occupancy in nursing facilities to no more than 2 beds, aimed at reducing overcrowding and increasing privacy for residents. The session also mandated the transition of nursing facility waiting lists to electronic format, enhancing the accuracy and transparency in the admissions process. In addition, the legislature focused on promoting best practices and improving public access to care by mandating and requiring the display of links of the Medicare Nursing Home Compare page on both the Department of Social Services and the Department of Public Health's website, in addition to creating and establishing a Connecticut-specific nursing home dashboard. An initiative is designed to aid residents and their families in making informed choices when it comes to choosing a care facility. It also saw for the development of a Centers of Excellence program, which would provide incentives for nursing homes that meet specific evidence-based standards for high-quality and person-centered care. This session also addressed issues of fairness and safety. It prohibited discrimination in admissions based on a history of mental ill treatment and introduced enhanced workplace prevention safety standards for both residents and staff. It also now generally requires nursing homes, without regard to the wait list, to admit transferring residents from a nursing home that is closing, in order to minimize the risk of transfer trauma and allow individuals to remain in their communities of origin. Regulatory agencies were given enhanced powers to discipline facilities that fall short in care and practices according to those state and federal laws, ensuring accountability and maintaining those high care standards. Moreover, the recent legislative changes in Connecticut significantly enhance the flexibility and responsiveness of the Ombudsman Program, ensuring that individuals receiving care can access critical and appropriate services more rapidly and in their preferred settings. Collectively, these measures significantly improve the operational transparency, safety, and quality of care in Connecticut's nursing, residential, and community settings, thereby enhancing the quality of life for those individuals no matter where they live. So, that's what we got done this year alone. But we're not done. There's always a long fight to go. And so looking forward to Connecticut and some of the initiatives after discussing with you guys some of the issues that are still out there that we're going to work towards in the next year, some of the legislative initiatives may include increasing the personal needs allowance to include continued cost of living increases, continued expansion of the Ombudsman Program to address the continual increase in number and complexity of concerns that individuals face that come into our office, increased transparency in nursing home ownership and financial accountability, the incorporation of specific LGBTQ+ resident rights into state statute, strengthening protections against involuntary transfers or discharge for residential care homes, addressing issues related to emergency evacuations and closures to uphold resident rights through that process, requiring a further diversity in the Department of Public Health survey teams to have a more holistic approach, strengthening accountability through increased civil monetary penalties for administrative staff who are abandoning facilities, working to prohibit the use of pre-dispute arbitration agreements in nursing homes and residential care homes, strengthening mandatory reporting requirements for suspected abuse, neglect, exploitation, by eliminating subjective interpretation based on those reporting decisions right now. And finally, we're not done yet, increased access for veterans in VA contracted homes by allowing veterans who meet the eligibility criteria and are appropriately qualified through the VA to receive priority status in nursing home wait lists, as they too have the right to be kept in their communities of origin. And so that's moving forward in Connecticut, but I don't want to leave out, again, some of the federal legislative initiatives that we're also working to champion. And as part of our ongoing commitment to advocate on behalf of nursing homes at the national level, I want to re-highlight what Irma was just talking about, as well as another initiative. The top two priorities that I wanted to discuss today are the Essential Caregivers Act of 2024. This critical legislation would allow residents in long-term care to be designated an essential caregiver to maintain contact and support even during emergencies. Now, this is something we had passed years ago, but the greater nation doesn't have access to this, and we believe that they should. And then finally, we stand in full support of Senator Blumenthal's Fairness in Nursing Home Arbitration Act, which again would rule out any allowance of having pre-dispute arbitration agreements at the national level. This would ensure that individuals are not forced into unfair practices before a dispute even arises, preserving their right to seek justice through courts if necessary. So, we provided a big picture overview, highlighted some key state legislation passed in the last few years affecting individuals, and ultimately, all this information and more is on our website. So if you go to the LTCOP.gov website and you go to our advocacy center, we're happy to connect with individuals. And on behalf of the Executive Board of Presidents of Resident Council, who are fearless, staunch advocates on behalf of all residents, it's a shameless plug. We're looking for more dedicated individuals who want to join and participate and advocate at the systems level. So please reach out to us, reach out to the Executive Board. We'd be happy to talk about ways that you too can partner with us to achieve these goals or others that you feel are important to you. So again, thank you so much, and wishing everyone continued success and advocacy in 2025.
Thank you. And with that, I want to encourage you all. So I see Representative Belinsky here today. I see Rep. Hughes. Any other representatives in here that are? Okay, so I know that these individuals go into long-term care communities to talk to the residents and find out what's happening and to understand in their communities how the nursing homes are functioning. You guys talked earlier from the reality poets about having added support within your building, task force, whatever you want to call it. I would encourage all of you to reach out to your local legislators and invite them into your home. Invite them for a resident council meeting. Have an opportunity to sit and talk with them about how things are going and where there might be opportunity. I think that'll also enhance your ability to communicate with your administration, right? It helps to strengthen those types of connections. So please do that. They do want to hear from you. Right, you're a large portion of our population. Like we said, we want you all to be voting. People don't lose their rights to vote or any of their rights as a U.S. citizen because they go into a long-term care setting. All right, so I know it's getting close to lunch here. People are getting ready to have something to eat. Has UConn arrived yet? Otherwise, I will go into that a little bit, and if they come later, I might have them talk about the project that they're doing. UConn is going to be at nursing homes for 2 reasons in the next year. You will see individuals coming to ask to talk to you, talk to your resident councils. One of the projects that UConn is doing is called Disparities Related to Dementia and they're doing a research study on that. And it's specifically related to, I believe, with Money Follows the Person, individuals having the ability to transition out when they have a cognitive diagnosis. So if they're able to get here, I do want them to talk to you a little bit about that and talk to you about what to expect if you see individuals in your home from UConn, why they might be there. They're also engaging in a project through the Department of Social Services, and our state is one of the few states that initiated the project in this way. And I'm excited that they did, because in some states, when there is a survey that goes out for individuals where the payer source is by acuity based, so depending on people's needs, there's acuity based payment. There's a survey that goes out, a satisfaction survey to residents and family members in skilled nursing facilities to measure the success of the building and the way that you're satisfied. And so I think it's really important to know that, I think we have UConn here now. Come on up, ladies. Our state did that by a non-biased third party. In many other states, that is mailed to the nursing home, and then the nursing home does that survey with the residents regarding the satisfaction. And so we thought that might be some conflict there. And so I was really happy to hear that the Department of Social Services had engaged in having individuals come out from UConn and do that survey and work with residents and family members to ensure that it's unbiased. So big thank you, DSS. And yay, we're able to be joined now. Hi, guys. Nice to see you. These are our partners from UConn, Christine Bailey and Alice Dillon. Dr. Dillon, welcome. There's perfect timing. We just queued you up. So,
Okay, should I go ahead?
you could each have a mic. There you go.
Okay, thank you very much for allowing us to take a few minutes of your time. My name's Alice Dillon. Everyone hear me okay? Great, thank you. So as you just heard, we are from the Center on Aging at UConn. We want to very quickly tell you about a research study that we are hoping some of you will be interested in helping us with. And what we are doing for this research study is we are trying to understand why some people who are residents in nursing homes are using the Money Follows the Person program to help them move out of nursing homes and move back to community homes, and why some other people are not using that program. So the goal is to understand how people make that decision and how people go through that process of deciding whether they want to try to move, and also in particular to understand how it might look different for people who have memory issues or dementia. So what we're doing is we are doing a bunch of interviews with people who are living in nursing homes, and we are hoping to ask for help from some of you. We want to do interviews with people who have not moved out of nursing homes and who have not applied to this program called Money Follows the Person. We're only looking to interview about 12 residents in nursing homes and about 10 family members. And our interview is just like a long conversation where we ask people questions about their life in the nursing home. Have they ever thought about moving? Have they ever heard about this program called Money Follows the Person? And we do also, as I mentioned, do some interviews with family members. So we are looking to interview a variety of people, a mix of people who have memory issues and don't have memory issues, a mix of people from different racial and ethnic backgrounds. We have interviewers on our team who speak Spanish and can do interviews in Spanish. And our request for you is that we're hoping we can connect with some of you individually and connect with your resident councils or people at your nursing home who might be interested in talking to us. So we are going, and I should also say Christine Bailey, my colleague here, is going to stay a little bit today and come by and see some of you. We have a flyer that we are going to hand out that has our contact information and some more details about the research study. And we are hoping that some of you will allow us to come visit you at your facility, maybe present to your resident council. If you have a way to distribute the flyer, like if you can pass it out to people on your resident council or post it somewhere. Anything like that would be a huge help. And the flyer will also appear in the Silver Panther newsletter, which is coming out soon. So if people are interested, please talk to us. After we hear who's interested, we do a short process of screening to make sure that they fit the criteria for who can participate in the research study. There is a consent process, so we make sure that people understand the study and understand what it's about. And there's also a $50 gift card as a thank you to people who participate in an interview. So we very much hope that some people want to share their stories and help us learn more about the process of moving out of a nursing home, or why some people are choosing not to move out of a nursing home. And we will be walking around later with some flyers. Anything to add?
No, I think it's just, there's one other criteria, which is 55 years or older. So I know there are some younger folks in the different nursing homes, so that was just the other piece to mention.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you for providing that information. We are just about ready to have lunch. We have another raffle now. Oh. Dan's gonna, before you take that, Dan, or before you talk, you can take it. They mentioned the Silver Panther. I want to know how many people here know what the Silver Panther is and receive it. I'm glad the commissioner put her hand up. That's helpful. Okay, I don't see so many hands. What I want to express to all of you is 4 times a year, once a season, a Silver Panther, which is a newsletter, comes out, and it's for you all and from you all. So we have our Executive Board of Presidents of Resident Council. We get information from them. We're really looking for nursing homes to submit best practices, right? I think it's exciting for you to learn from each other. There are good things happening in nursing homes. We want people to be proud of where they live, proud of where they're able to work, and by promoting some of the good things that are happening in the Silver Panther, we think that we can get it out to all of you. So for rec directors or care team members that are here today, please look for that. We would really appreciate it if, when it's sent to the facility, that it's printed out and given to the resident council, as well as everyone. We would love if it went to everyone in the building, but it is electronic. If you would like to receive that, you can certainly let your regional ombudsman know and reach out to us so that we're able to ensure that you get a copy of that, okay?
And lunch will be out in just a moment, but I had to take the mic from Marae because she went crazy with that raffle. We couldn't even give out the prizes before she was going on. So she's not, we're pulling the plug on that. So I couldn't even cue up my Jeopardy music. So we only have a few raffle prizes left because Marae went so crazy. But I've got 2 left that we could do. And so I'm going to ask everybody, if you have an answer, do not yell it out, because the person next to you might get the mic to come to them. And so I'm going to ask 2 raffle prize questions. The first being, nursing homes can raise or can require residents to sign an agreement waiving their rights to file a complaint. True or false? Oh, don't tell it out. Come on now. All right, I got you right here, buddy. I got you right here.
False.
False. Correct answer. Can I get this gentleman right here? We got Walter. We got Walter May up here.
All right, raise your hands. Don't call it out. Raise your hands. I got in trouble. Okay.
And so, yes, that absolutely is true. Individuals certainly have the right to raise grievances, and as we discussed earlier, without the fear of retaliation or reprisal, or even the fear of retaliation or reprisal. So I think that's important to note. Voices are stronger together, and if you don't speak up, no one will ever know the challenges that you're experiencing. So our final, second raffle question is, residents have the right to be informed about their medical condition in a language that they understand. True or false? And I gotta mix it up, so I'm gonna run to the middle. Here we are.
True.
She got it. Let's give one to Carol. Under CFR 483.21b, residents are entitled to participate, creating and revising their care plans and being fully informed of their rights in a manner in which that they understand. So with that said, I believe lunch will be out in just a minute. We'll lift this up, and then we'll give you guys a minute to speak. Mairead, unless you have anything to add?
I just want to add, please stay after lunch. We'll be having our panel for people to be able to ask direct questions to policymakers and get information back from them. All right, so enjoy your lunch. It's always something people enjoy and tell us is yummy, so thank you. Buddy, how was lunch? Good, good, good. I'm going to request all of the panelists to come up, please. All right, now I need one mic up here that I can pass, and then my team, regional ombudsman in the back of the room, hop up and get mics to run around, please. I love how they just all like give me the list. Okay, well, thank you all. And I want to thank all of the staff here at the AquaTurf. That was a fantastic lunch, and everything so on time and presented so well. Thank you. I was joking that I've never really been able to breathe and sit down before. Like, we actually had some time, so that was great. I'm glad I got to visit with a few of you. And now is our open mic portion of the afternoon. So we'll take this time. I know sometimes people's rides come. If your ride comes, we totally understand. I want to thank everybody for being here today. And of course, hope everybody can join us again next year. But now we will open up for open mic. If people have a question that they'd like to ask, please raise your hands. We have Al, who's here, and he is going to answer questions from the Reality Poets perspective. We have Alice Bonner from the Moving Forward Coalition. We have Kim Risniak from Department of Public Health, and Christine Weston from Department of Social Services. I know, they were so gracious to do this for us. Let's see, who has the first question out there? Raise your hand. Okay, right here we have one. Oh, and I'm from the Ombudsman program if you have questions about that.
Hi, my name's Ellen. I'm from the Hebrew Center, the president of the Resident Council. I was wondering how and who provides the ratings of the nursing homes that you see, like when you're in the hospital, they give you the paper with the review and the stars. I was wondering, where is that acquired from?
Well, that's a great question. How do different nursing homes get different star ratings?
Yes.
Okay, I know. Kim?
So the nursing homes get the different star ratings from a lot of different information. So it's about their staffing, and it's in regards to the quality of care that they get, their most recent surveys. And Alice will correct me if I'm missing one too. And so what happens with that, then they'll get individual stars for that specific area, and then they'll get a total star rating for the entire package per se.
Okay, but where is the information about the quality of care? Where is the information about resident enjoying, or,
right.
Where does that information come from?
So
I understand the
Right,
rating process.
Right, that's from the quality measures component of that. And don't forget, when we come out, so I'm one of the managers at the Department of Public Health, so we're from the regulators. So when it also pulls in from the surveys as well, as I mentioned. And when we go out and we interview many of the residents, so there could be some deficiencies regarding resident rights and different avenues that we go down. So that would be pulled in from their most recent survey as well.
Okay, because, just as a statement, I've never seen a survey, but I know at my particular facility, a lot of focus is centered on the rehab section and what they think of the institution, but I don't see a lot of focus on the permanent residents there getting any access to surveys or anything.
So a couple answers to your two-part question. So you could always see the survey results. You're supposed to be able to see the survey results, and that's not only the annual survey, or we're in there every 9 to 15 months, so that should be accessible to all of the residents, correct? And in addition to that, we can go in at any time and also look at a complaint investigation. So that if there's any findings, that should also be available to all of the residents and the families in an area that is centralized and you have access to. If at any time when we go in, especially for a recertification survey, when you'll see a bunch of the staff, a bunch of the inspectors come in, you always have the right to ask. We'll post signs that say we're in the buildings. You always have the right to ask to speak to one of the surveyors. Maybe they went into your room perhaps and you were at a recreational activity, or if you had rehab or you were out on an LOA, they may have missed you. So please feel free to ask to speak to one of the surveyors.
Okay, thank you.
And I would say also make sure your resident council binder is up to date with your notes, so that if there's something, you were saying more of the long-term residents, if there's something they wanted to share, that it's in your binder. And we caution people, the star rating is one way to know what's happening in a long-term care community, right? But sometimes administrations change, sometimes there's just things that happen in the building that are different. So if you have the opportunity, you're going to want to either have a friend or a loved one go and experience that building, look at certain things, talk to the other residents at that building to get a true feeling of what life is like there, because sometimes the star ratings don't always represent all aspects.
Right, and I'll just add to what Mairead was just saying, that it really matters what people tell CMS and the survey agencies about the quality measures. So those quality measures that we talked about, there's like 17 of them, different ones, and they are really focused on things that you mentioned, like rehab and care and things. So when you all imagine your day-to-day life in a nursing home as a resident, if you don't think that the quality measures now are really capturing what makes a good quality of life for you, that's important, and that voice has to be heard. And no one else is necessarily going to talk about it with the same passion and the same dedication as you are. So CMS does change those quality measures from time to time. They have things called an expert panel, and the expert panel could include people who are living in a nursing home as a resident, but sending, an email, picking up the phone and calling, things like that, that really makes a difference when lots of people do it. So I'm glad you mentioned that about the quality measures, and your response was really great, just capturing everything. But, don't hesitate to speak out on things like that.
And maybe just one more thing, maybe there's a way to increase the opportunities for residents to complete surveys, because from what you're saying, there's a lot of focus on the surveys, and that represents the patient's reality in the nursing home, and I think that maybe we need more input.
So a resident survey for survey. I like that.
Thank
more
you.
interviews.
Yeah, definitely, and not just with the rehab people, but the whole building, because the rehab gets special treatment.
Well, we've heard, yeah.
Right. Well,
a survey for surveys. They're saying.
Survey for surveys, but their focus should not just be on the rehab, correct? Because this is your home. So when the nurse consultants go out, they're screening all of the residents, and they take the opportunity to talk to as many residents that they can. So I'll certainly bring that forward with my staff at the department. Thank you.
Okay.
That was my question. Why don't the residents have surveys?
So the residents also have, one of the things we're really trying to push this year, and I've talked with my team about, is getting resident councils ready for survey, right? Because that is your opportunity, and ensuring, I think a lot of resident councils don't know how to use the survey process in order to talk about their concerns. They talk with the ROs about it a lot. And so I've asked my team to work with buildings if you want to invite them in to help you get ready for survey, to know what kind of questions they're going to ask, what's important for you to make sure that the surveyors know, and that you get the information to Kim's team.
And part of when we do the resident council interview, the questions are very, prescriptive. So there's certain questions, but I would, working with May Reed and her team, my recommendation would be to certainly, if there's something else, bring it to the surveyor's attention so they can follow up while we're there. We're not going to know because maybe there was something, because we review the resident council minutes with your permission, of course. So we want to make sure that everything is captured there, and perhaps if we don't bring it up and mention to you, for example, there was a concern about missing laundry. Did that get resolved? So there should be subsequent questions to that, kind of issues that were brought up in resident council. We want to make sure that they're not reoccurring. We want to make sure they're addressed, and they're addressed to what you think is sufficient.
Great. Okay, I think Shantae has one over there.
Thank you for taking the time to hear my question. I have a question about money follows the person, and I was wondering if all the nursing homes, will there be any information days that questions can be answered by the department or the agency that handles money follows the person, by coming to all the different nursing homes in the state, because I'm interested in seeing greater outreach in that regard, that is, by having representatives from Money Follows the Person to come in and visit and do a information session day presentation for that type of program. And will that be possible? Thank you for your response.
Yep, so this is Christine, and that is a phenomenal suggestion, and one that I recently just heard, which I didn't say in my intro, is I've been in this position now only about 4 months. So even though I worked in MFP in the past, I'm just now back as the director of the program. And I've been wondering, we need to do something different, right? It's been doing it the same way, and we're not yielding the greatest results, so we need to start changing our approach. And one of the things we heard from another state when I was doing a peer-to-peer call was I think it was actually New York that told me about this. We go in with teams and we do group-informed choice. We come in and we share information. We share different mediums. We have flyers, we have stories, and we tell people about the successes as well as some of the challenges and barriers to transitioning to the community. And I really loved this idea. And I have a team of social workers at the department that would be able to come in and do that with us. So we could target buildings in each of the regional areas and then just start doing these grouped informed choices. So perhaps we could connect with the ombudsmans and the resident councils and coordinate days, but that you then have it as an activity and an event, and we can come and have documentation where you can actually sign up and apply to be assessed and considered for community options. So it is a great idea. It is something that I've been tinkering with and how to execute it. So I definitely think that that'll be in early 2025 that you'll start seeing that roll. Yeah, you want me to say?
Yes, as someone that has enrolled into the program, I find it to where you have people come see you twice. They ask for this paperwork, and then you can't get a hold of them anymore.
Right. Are you in New York or in Connecticut? Yeah. So all of our MFP programs are run a little differently in each state, but I think the member experience is somewhat similar. So we do have, I think our ratios of the amount of people that we have assigned to each, case manager might be a little daunting. So you're saying you have lack of access to your case manager or whoever's supposed to be helping you. That is a complaint we get here in Connecticut as well. The New York program, and for New York Medicaid is probably, I don't know the official number, but probably like 20 times, 30, maybe even 100 times bigger than the Connecticut Medicaid program. So your MFP people are smaller resources for a very large group of people. So I think you need to become a pest, right? I think those squeaky wheels are very important, and I think reaching out, you guys certainly have a voice, and just make it be known that you're not getting in touch with your case manager. And every agency has an escalation point, right? So if you need to go to, I think it's the Department of Health and Services, I think it's called DHS in New York, you could go to that program. And I certainly can pass your information along to the MFP director there as well. We talk regularly.
Great. And one thing I'll say, one of the challenges we hear a lot is that people don't have the documents they need, and it's hard for them to get. We have new cards that are available that go over all the documents that you need, as well as if you don't have the document, how to get it.
I was just wondering, like, does you're from Power? What was it called? So, is there any way, like, to do like my chart or do with social service? That way, like, it'd be easier to get contact with your case manager. You could just go to that app and just,
So that's a great idea. They asked if there was an electronic way to stay in contact with your case managers and your transition coordinators. That would be something we would have to look into about how we could get you access. I know a lot of times they'll hand out their work cells for texting, but not an easy way for you to passively track what's going on with your own record, which is very interesting. I do really like that. That's something to think about.
Project.
Yeah. That's what MFP is about also. We get to demonstrate and pilot different ways of doing things, and maybe having some care management my chart is pretty interesting. That's a good idea.
All right, Stacy in the back. I think Bobby has a question. Hey, Bobby.
Good afternoon. My name is Bobby. I'm the West Side Care Center president. And I overheard a conversation earlier in the week, and it kind of, I don't know, it just made me seem like, well, here's the conversation. I heard staff members speaking on discontinued medication, and they was taking all the medications out of the different units, and they were saying that they had to count it up and everything and turn it in to get paid for it. And my question to you is, shouldn't the patient get some of that kickback if they're if they've
Bobby,
if they've been able to no longer need and buy this medication, if they don't need it anymore and they don't have to purchase it anymore, but the last purchase is still some of that there, shouldn't they get a piece of that?
Well, I'm not sure it works that way, Bobby, but it would be nice.
That would be really nice, but I think probably what you were hearing is, when we come in and we do the inspections, we want to make sure that there's not a lot of medications around that have been discontinued. So from the regulator, I'm not the money person, from the regulatory standpoint, there's certain rules and regulations that the facility has to follow. So when we go into the med room, and we're very nosy, that's our job, we're going around, we want to make sure there's not a lot of excess around there, because if they're not using it, then it should be disposed of, and whatever the regulation says as far as the disposition of those or getting rid of them, that's kind of what we're looking at from the for the facility. But I understand what you're saying, if it really belongs to the residents, and we do look at that. If there's something that belongs to the resident and we kind of hear about it, we would look at and it's being used inappropriately, we would go down the road of misappropriation of residents' property, because essentially the medication is your property. So as far as the money goes and returning it, that's a good one.
Yeah, the pharmacy, if the pharmacy takes it back, if there's any kind of, the money goes back to whoever originally gave the money. So the money goes back to the original source, not to the person. So
whatever your payer source is.
That's
whatever your payer source is.
It goes to the payer source.
Yeah.
All right. Dan Beam.
My question is, what is the level of education that an ombudsman has to have? Because I work with a lot of teenagers going to college, and they're always looking for something a little bit different. And what happens when you get somebody that's Korean? Like, we have a lot of foreigners in our facility, so how can we help them all?
That's a great question. So to be a regional ombudsman, you have to have a depth of knowledge and experience that we list out, and then people can apply. They're almost like little mini area agencies on aging. They have to have a lot of knowledge in different areas about different issues related to long-term care, money follows the person, rights that people have generally. And so if someone wants to go down that path, anyone can volunteer for our program and become a resident advocate volunteer, which we have some, and they're amazing. And then from that, they may have the experience to be able to apply to be a regional ombudsman. And then for individuals who have different backgrounds, in some towns where there are populations of people with different backgrounds, they reach out to their, I know there's the Polish community has a Polish center, and maybe making sure that they're engaged with whatever part of the community really resonates with them and helps them feel a part of the home. So you can invite those people in, ask them to maybe do a group. We have some that do religious programs, we have social programs, but in making sure that people still have access to their communities of origin. Stacy?
My question is, what rights does a female have as to who can give her personal care?
What was that? I missed part of that.
What rights do females have as far as who gives them personal care?
Oh, okay. Do you want to go? There's certain rights around it.
So you do have the right. So if you have a preference that you don't have, for example, a male take care of you, you have the right to let the facility know that you would prefer not to have any male caregivers. Of course, that's your right. Your care plan has to be person-centered, and the facility should be abiding by what your preferences are.
I will say that, and I think most buildings try on this, and they'll try to accommodate. The one thing we do caution residents is that if there's, depending on the staffing in the building, if people make choices about who's giving them care, it may impact the amount of time it takes for someone to give them care. So just being very cognizant of that and realizing that, but they should do their best in order to have people on staff that are able to provide for the individualized care of each resident.
My other question to that follow-up is that what happens if 3 meals are on staff at night and they don't have enough females to fill the spot?
Well, again, as Mayreed said, that it may take a little bit longer, but, as a nurse myself, I can provide care. So there may need to be some adjustments made as far as the scheduling goes, and to ensure that your needs are met as well. So a nurse can, provide care in absence of a CNA that may be available. So that's up to the facility to work that out.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. All right, Dan?
Hi, Ellen again. I had just a statement about money follows the person and a question about it. One of the things I've noticed and other people have noticed when money follows the person comes around and things use a lot of anagrams, MFP, AIE, and it's very difficult for a resident who's not familiar with the program to understand what you're talking about. I understand it's easy to fall into that because that's the terminology you use, but when referencing those things with residents, it really kind of makes you lost in the process. So maybe that's something you guys could look into.
Yeah.
My question was, what is the safety net for people who get the Money Follows the Person program, goes out in the community, and what happens if that doesn't work? Are they able to go back to the nursing home? Is there a plan in place, a contingency plan? That's my question. Thank you.
All right, so for the first comment, I think that's an excellent point. We kind of all get stuck in alphabet soup. When something is your day-to-day terminologies, you kind of forget who you're talking to. And different letters mean different things to different people, right? So I think that's definitely something I can take back and make sure that when we are using words like MFP, which is money follows the person, or UA, which is a universal assessment, that we try to describe those words and be mindful and take a pause and see if anybody has questions, right? So it's very overwhelming too, especially if you're sitting down for the first day and you're doing what we call an IC, which is informed consent. And there is a lot of Medicaid jargon in there, and there's a lot of words. So overall, as the Department of Social Services, we are trying to move to more plain language materials, and there is a really strong effort to make sure that our application is more easily understood and that there's more plain language direction. And I certainly can take that back to the staff that work with and interact with the individuals in the buildings. As for the safety net question, so there is always an inherent risk when you move from any setting, right? Like if you are moving from the skilled nursing facility into the community with supports and services, there is a risk that those supports and services may not work out for you. You are still active on Medicaid. You still do have an institutional level of care, and your benefit is available to go back into the nursing home. What I would hope would happen is that we would mitigate all of that in as far as we could to keep those services, if your choice was to remain in the community, as much as we can. But the reality is there could be a status change. There could be a natural support change, right? So often our care plans involve a family member or a loved one to also intervene. And if something comes out in their lives that make them no longer able to care for you, it could jeopardize your own plan of care. So we would hope that you have a care manager that is really well versed in how to mitigate some of those risks. They would kick it up to the department because it is always our intent to serve the individual where they want to be served. But more than likely, if you've left on MFP, you're at an institutional level of care and can use your Medicaid benefit in another building. Now, I don't believe, as for rights, I don't know that you get to go back to the building you left.
It depends on how many days you've been out.
Oh, good to know.
So there's a lot of variables in that, depending like that. When did you transition? What was the plan in place? But people always have the right to change their mind and to say either I chose to be in a long-term care setting and I no longer want to be, or I'm in the community and like that maybe one of the resources that you had for support is no longer there. Maybe their job got transferred, who knows? That you work with your case manager to give you all of the options. And I know my team, we really support people in getting assessed and knowing what all of your options are under your Medicaid, if you have Medicaid, because you don't know what they're going to offer unless you've had the assessment. Many of us have worked there before. I can give you an idea, but I can't speak to the whole complement of services that they have because they demonstrate new things, they have new things available all the time, and we wouldn't be giving you the right picture if we were just to explain it to you, and that's why the assessment's so important. Shantae?
It's good to know that your status doesn't change when if you do move in the community, so that you don't have to go through the entire process if everything doesn't work out. So that's a good thing to know when making that decision. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I have a question, and this has to do with disclosing the name and last name of a resident for the purpose of giving some information, either in writing or through the system that we have in an area. I write a newsletter for the residents in my place, and then I take things that people tell me or that I participate. And things like if the person wins 5 times in bingo, everybody is very excited, and then we think, oh, everybody should know this. This is very nice. Or if we have activities and games like the ones that we just had in France, and people that win with the gold medals, which we did in our place. We want to say that to the rest of those ones, especially the ones that never leave their beds, which we have quite a few. When I have tried to do things like that, many times I'm told you cannot write the last name of the person. Some other times when I would like to have somebody say something about somebody too, I am told you have to have in writing the authority of this person that they agree that you can give either their first name or first name and last name. We have activities for birthdays of our residents, which I think they are not as good as they should be. However, we do have celebrations of some of the staff birthdays where they are announced name and last name in the microphone. When I ask about, I would like to celebrate in the newsletter or in the microphone the name of one of the residents that is having a birthday when we're doing the celebration, and I have been told basically what I said, that we have to see that they agree to do that because they may not like it, blah, blah, blah. I then think when I go through the halls in our building, every room has a sign on the outside that has my name, I mean in my room, it has my first name and my last name in writing. Not even that, but indicating on which side of the room I am, whether I am by the window or whether I am by the door. Thinking about that and thinking about the names of the staff that is given to, which sometimes I could care, sometimes I don't care. But why is it that we cannot say or write the name of a resident without having to go through writing an authorization of writing the person's name and last name, and in advertising over the microphone that today is the birthday of Yvette Alvarez, and
that's a good
that is not permitted. It's not allowed, I've been told, by law. So having a person that has studied some part of the law when I was young, I like to know what law is that. I have called and asked for the information about HIPAA, and they came and brought me a piece of paper, and I'll tell you, they when I ask things, I always receive some very good answers. So now that we are here with so many nice people that knows almost everything, I would like to know, what do you think of those questions?
So I think that for individuals living in a long-term care community, they may want to share that information.
This is not long-term care. This is assisted living.
Assisted living or long-term care, either. And when anyone is living in a congregate setting, they're living together, it's really important that their privacy and what they'd like is protected. One of the things that I think we would encourage you to do, or through your council to do, is maybe have an option list of what the options are, to have their birthday shared, to be a part of a newsletter, and let them decide and sign off on whether or not they would like that. Even when someone comes to the building, if someone doesn't want on the larger list, if somebody came in and said, you know, does Mairead live in your building? If I haven't given the building permission to give that information out, they can't give that information out. So I think they're just working to protect the individuals. I don't think you're a HIPAA organization, so I don't think you fall under HIPAA, but if the building was putting out the memo, then the building is providing that. So I think just as a privacy issue, you want to make sure that people give permission to have their information shared. Yeah, they could sign on admission. You can sign on admission when they come in. what they'd like to participate in or what they would not like to participate in. So thank you, that's a really good point.
What you are saying it is that as long as the person doesn't.
As long as the person says they want to. Yep, then you can. Other questions out there? Dan?
I have a question.
Right, wait.
I also have a question.
Oh, Christine has a question. Go ahead, Christine. Oh, go ahead, Dan.
Thank you. I'm Marilyn Kadoff from McLean, and I'm president of the Residents Council. One thing I've really found that seems to be the root problem that we're experiencing, and I'd like to get feedback, is just simply lack of communication about what's going on and what's affecting our lives. We had a COVID outbreak that you would have thought the building had been bombed or something. It was so disorganized. And I'm just wondering if other resident councils are finding that communication or lack of it is a problem.
I think that's one of the reasons why we're hoping that this pilot, and I believe your building is one of the buildings that talked about being involved in the pilot, that the pilot is so important, is to re-engage the long-term care communities in what it means to facilitate conversations with the residents, to give residents updates, to have them part of the quality improvement projects in the long-term care setting. So I've brought up to a few people, if there's an increase in falls in the building, right, and the administration is trying to work on that, I would hope they'd go to the residents and say, hey, we've had an increase in falls. What do you think we can do about that? Or if you've had a lot of changeover in staff. Residents may have really good ideas on how to address some of the concerns and to get information about what were the outcomes of survey, what were their, when they give, after survey, when they give answers to some of the issues and concerns, their plan of correction, that they should be going over that with individuals in the nursing home through resident council, all those types of things. So we're hoping that the pilot assists, and using the handbook in general will help people engage with their administration.
Yeah, and I would just add to what Mairead said, that in the guide, which you all have, so I saw people looking at it, in the back, there are templates. There's just blank forms that you can copy one at a time, one page at a time. And one of them is about what happened during the resident council, what were the issues that were brought up, who was there, and who was going to do the follow-up, you know, who's going to talk to the administrator or talk to the director of nurses, social work, whomever, and then what actually happened. So there's a place where you sign off about what you want the resolution to be or think it could be, and then the next resident council meeting, you're supposed to pull out that form and say, okay, what did we really do? What did we accomplish? Did this really happen? And in many cases, maybe it has happened and that's great, and in other cases, maybe it hasn't yet, and so then you get together again, and you know, to Mairead's point, the residents say, well, what can we do now? It hasn't really been addressed yet, so what's the next stage? And your point, I talked to a lot of different people here today, and you've talked with one another. That concern about communication with, you know, the people who are in, you know, operating the nursing home, that's a big issue. And also getting things done that residents bring forward. So again, I think we have to do this pilot with the 25 nursing homes to start and use this guide and make it better, because it's not perfect, but it has a lot of good things in it. So we'll get your feedback during the pilot and try to make it better. But one of the things you can do with resident council is set up a communication plan with administrator, director of nurses, social services, whomever, and then you can try that out, and then if you need to change it, you can change it. But your point is a really important one, and I think a lot of people are probably thinking similarly, so thanks.
Absolutely. Hang on one second, we've got a couple other people first. Shantae?
Well, to touch on the lack of communication, 2 weeks ago I had an issue, and it started in the morning, so you know, you tell your morning nurse, she writes it in the book. And now every nurse that comes in after that is supposed to go through a report, I guess, from the next one. And that particular day, every single nurse that I talked to said, I don't know what you're talking about. Nobody left me down. Nobody said nothing. 3 nurses I went through this with. And it was just like, the lack of communication is incredible. That's the #1 problem, I think.
I agree. Kim, do you want to address how that maybe should have gone?
I get loud.
So if you don't, So my recommendation is because it's a consistent theme that we're hearing, right, about communication, and it's not just, it's for everyone. My recommendation would be if you're not getting a response from the nurse, you ask to talk to the supervisor. You go up the chain of command. If you don't hear from the supervisor, you go right to the top. Don't let things kind of perseverate for a great length of time, because what's going to happen? You're going to get frustrated, which is not going to be good, and the problem or the concern will never be addressed appropriately. So if it's not a reasonable amount of time, or you're finding that the nurses are not getting that information and report, just even, not only in your homes, but in life. I mean, we have to come to a point where I'm going to go right to the top and get my answers taken care of. And to resident council, but in real time, I think the issue is, it's not appropriate to wait till resident council. You can talk about it at resident council because you might not be the only one, but then you need to pull in who? The director of nurses or the administrator, whoever's the attention that you can get quickest, because, I think that would be the way to go.
Yeah. So hang on, Ms. Weston here has a question. Christine?
I have a question for the Fire Through Grass folks. So I don't know about everybody else, but that was amazing. The goosebumps I had just watching your trailer, I cannot wait to go home and buy it on Amazon Prime, because I'm going to watch the whole thing. But I had a question, one about amazing how your neighborhood came around you. Are those individuals still involved with you today? And I also couldn't get over the size, that building, how many residents there are in the building, and what are like some of your biggest gains you think you've made since this advocacy and since this kind of grassroots telling your own story? Like, what's your biggest gain? And also just curious how many individuals are living in that building.
I say we have like an estimate of maybe 500 residents in a nursing home.
Yeah, that's not typical in Connecticut. So that's why when I saw that, I'm like, that's the building.
And it's usually like, it's pretty much on the island, as y'all can see. It's like two main buildings. You got an A building and a C building. Most of the time, they usually have the ladies in the A building, and they have the gentlemen in the C building. But then they don't try to, keep everybody separated. They want to have people, they have respect. And then it's also units with certain people, behavior and certain other issues. So it's different areas and people. The children's unit. So it's a lot of that. Many of the residents, many of the community is still with us today. We've been involved with each other and been when it comes to many projects on the island as well, particularly the arts, as we keep saying, the arts. And it's like Tom Hire, and there's a few other artists and a few other residents that's been there, and they still with us. And the second part of the question was?
Like the most, what's changed do you think you guys enacted the most in your time of advocacy?
I'm gonna be honest and be real with you. I would say definitely the outlook and the judgment, is the look of like, because, we originally Roosevelt Island was based on, it was supposed to be Disability Island, the disabled island. This is what they was looked as, and as the years became and time went on, it was like more of, even since the early time, it was just, we're going to put these people that have a disability on this island, and that's that. And ever since then, it's just, like, it's cold, and that's another thing. It's lonely, cold, and ever since then, it's just been together, like, with everybody in the community, like, we've been sticking together. It's been different, and it's changed all of that, because it used to be like people, they from that nursing home down there. Now it's like, they from the nursing home. How you doing? Everybody, and that's a good, and that's a better change, and it's like a better outlook, because it's like nobody want to be looked like when you go out, like whether you got your best piece of clothing or whatever, and then it's like, you looking down on. So it's like, it's a.
Also, what you'll see in the film, that the big change that we had was we got rid of forced the CEO's retirement that didn't really care about us, that didn't give us any type of communication or anything. And now we have a CEO that's in place, a new CEO that's in place and really is working with us.
So that, I think, is incredible, that the pressure and the advocacy that you all were able to bring forward created a change in administration that you used your voices to make, and that's incredible to be able to have that kind of impact on your home, right, your community and where you live. That's great.
That's where the community came together with the Kohler residents to form the task force.
That's what the task force came out of. That's great. Thank you.
But I just want to say, you know what Elle was saying, and all of you are saying, it was about getting out from Kohler and being part of the community and having the community see residents as part of the community and seeing them differently. And you guys did that. And so it makes a difference when people, stand up and talk about this stuff, make a film, write poetry, recite it. Those things really, that's what changed attitudes in a big way. So
I want to know how many residents out here feel a part of their greater community. Okay, so maybe that's something we can all work towards in the next year. People attending book club at the library, being a part of, if you're a veteran, the VFW, or the American Legion. How do we make sure that individuals, just because you move to a nursing home or a long-term care setting does not mean you are no longer part of the greater community and don't deserve the same sort of supports and connections. Okay, somebody just waved.
My name is Lillian Kiefer, and I'm from Mapleview in Rocky Hill. I would like to give a heartfelt thanks to everybody who prepared all this wonderful food, served it with such expertise, and it was so pleasant, and they are all so efficient. I am grateful for them and thank them.
There's a reason why we keep coming back, right? They work very well with all of us. Dan, she has one more question right here.
The question that I have, and I would like to know, the people that are president, vice president, and so forth of the resident council, please tell me how many of you, if you cannot attend a meeting because you are the president, and the vice president goes to that meeting, and the treasurer and the secretary, but you prefer to ask somebody else, a friend of yours that is also in that place, and when the time comes that the meeting starts, instead of being the person that normally is asked or responsible for conducting the meeting, which is the vice president, but instead somebody else comes in and starts the meeting and does not allow the vice president to conduct the meeting. Is that done by many people?
Normally you would follow the rules of the bylaws. So in your bylaws, every resident council functions differently. And so you need to set in your bylaws what is okay for your resident council and what's not. If in your bylaws it says when the president isn't there, that the vice president...
Yes, that's what it says.
Then I would work with the resident council and, again, with administration to try to support that and encourage the information with the president that people know that, because that's how it should function, however your bylaws outline it.
But if that doesn't happen...
You can call your regional ombudsman and they should be able to help you.
But is there anything specific that it is the law or that it is the one for Connecticut?
No, it all depends on what your individual council has.
Okay, well, thank you.
Yep. Stacy? Oh, I'll come right back. I didn't know she would.
Hello?
Yes.
My name is Gina. I'm from Fresh River in East Windsor, Connecticut. I would like to know how many residents would like to have a letter inside the building when there's COVID in the building, as opposed to just putting one on the outside door where most of us can't go.
Well, that's an interesting concept.
Not
So I
their
would think-
personal, not their personal medical record or
Yeah.
where they are, what room they're in, just the fact that it's there and possibly how many have it.
How do they notify people in the building that there's been a COVID,
Do they?
an outbreak?
No. The question is, do they notify?
Right,
Because-
so I guess I assumed, which I probably shouldn't assume things, that just like they notify family members or put letters out, that they would notify you all. So I think that's something that resident councils could absolutely be voicing with their administration as something you'd like to see moving forward.
No, I'm sorry. I mean, I think the residents have a right to know.
Oh, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think that they should, room to room, say, we currently have an outbreak, and let people know. I guess I assumed they did that.
Thank you.
My question is, I want to know how many nursing homes have open doors, like the format at Core Nursing Home. They have, they're allowed to go outside the community, but I mean, they don't have to have, like some nursing homes, you have to have permission from your doctor. Then you got to go through your social worker. Then you got to get the nurse, and then you have to have someone come and sign you out and all this. And I think this is terrible. I hate this. I hate this. All nursing homes should be open so that the people can go in and out and be a part of the community. And that's one reason why Kohler is so successful with like getting things done, is because they are part of the community. The people that are allowed to go outside and have a chance just to go out. They don't have to go through all these red tapes to go out. I mean, we're adults.
So the question is, how many buildings have open door policies where residents are allowed to freely, open campus, where residents are allowed to freely move about the building and the campus and spend time outside in the greater community? I would say it's limited. I think we have a lot of barriers to that, and part of it is we are the word safe comes up a lot, which safe is hard to define, and people do worry about regulations and having something negatively impact an individual. I think as a society, informing family members, residents, and staff and training them to have those conversations about what's the individual's desires, what are their abilities to do that. We certainly wouldn't want them to just open the doors and let someone out, maybe if they had a cognitive diagnosis and would get lost or walk away, right? So having some safety measures in place, but also respecting the autonomy and the choice and the risk tolerance. My risk tolerance is different than her risk tolerance. Christine, I'll tell you, Christine and I have totally different risk tolerance. I have a much higher risk tolerance than she does. I will try things that she won't try. And so I think it's about knowing the individual, what is their risk tolerance, how do they live their life before, and how do they want to see their life moving forward. Do you have anything, Kim, to add to that?
No, and it's a resident rights too. So it is the right to be able to go out and get engaged. But it would be something to work with the facility with too. And you know, the facility is of course concerned about safety and they're ultimately responsible. But I think there's got to be a fine line, a balance in between the two, the regulation and the rights.
Absolutely.
And there's also a safety risk of people being so isolated and lonely that they get depressed if they can't go outside and that's what they really want. So, you know, safety is defined differently by different people, but it isn't, we can't overly, you know, we can't be so overly protective of people that they're not making their own choice about the risk they want to assume.
Love that answer. Shantae?
Hello? I have a situation where I have an engineer that is working with me on a volunteer basis. He likes what I do as functioning as a president, and now he would like to continue his retirement as a social worker. So one of the questions I might ask one of you is, what would be the avenue for him to take?
Well, there are requirements to be a social worker in the nursing home or in general, and I would encourage him to look at what there's regulations in our state about who can call them a social worker and what schooling he has or what schooling he might need in order to do that, to meet that capacity. But that's something we could point him to. All right, I think we are starting to wind up. Shantae wants me to take one more. I think this will be our last question.
Hi, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I want to talk on behalf of my residents. About 12 years ago, there used to be a program that assisted the residents with out trips. It is no longer, so I'm asking if they're going to be able to reinstitute that program.
So this has come up a bit. I did put a bill forward, I think 5 years ago now, to ensure that individuals living in long-term care community had equal access to community transportation. So if the bus goes by, the transportation goes by, that they should be able to use that as well. I know in one part of the state, they were charging people in the greater community $2 a ride and people from the nursing home $20 a ride. And so that's biased, right? And so we're looking at that. Last year, there was a bill passed by Rep. McCarty who really pushed it related to transportation, but a lot of it falls on the nursing home. When I worked in nursing homes, most had a van. They don't really have that anymore, or the person to drive the van. So I think really having residents and staff and family members be vocal about how important it is for individuals to be able to be engaged in the greater community and what benefits it would bring them. Taking that out trip, going to see the leaves, just falling, or going out to Dairy Queen and everybody order ice cream. That kind of stuff we don't see happening anymore. And so how do we get that started again?
Resident councils.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Peter.
I want to know, is there a law on maximum room occupancy in a nursing home? And if there is one and the nursing home is not following that law, what can you do?
So I don't know what the rule is in New York, but here in Connecticut, is Ann still here? I think all of our legislators have left. Here in Connecticut, last session, a bill was passed that nursing homes moving forward will only allow to have at least 2 people in a room at a time. There's going to be a transition period. Won't happen overnight because some residents are in a 3-bedroom, and who has to leave? So there will be a transition period, but as our homes move forward and admit individuals, that they should be admitting them in a way where they have 2 individuals in each room. But I would ask your ombudsman in New York. I don't know what the rule in New York is.
I would also say Moving Forward Coalition has a work group that's just focused on physical plant, converting existing nursing homes to more person-centered environments. And one of the things is more private bedrooms, more private bathrooms, and the first step is getting rid of 3 and 4 bedrooms. But I agree with everything Mairead said. Different states are approaching it differently. Different nursing homes are doing, different approaches. But there are nursing homes that have done this and are doing it. So it's important to, make your voice heard about that. It's good.
Okay, and with that, we are going to have to wrap up for the day. But I want to really thank everyone who was part of our panel. And the Reality Poets for coming all this way today. I want to thank OSD for doing the filming today and taking care of all of this stuff. So thank you for the individuals from OSD. And Dan, awesome, and my team as well. Thank you all so much, and thank you for being here.